Okay, so welcome. The first thing we're gonna do is make sure the key's out of the ignition and remove the seat so we can get to the rear two bolts that hold the tank into place. Just put it somewhere safe. Right, so once the seat's out of the way, you want to take out these two bolts in the back that hold the tank into place. They also screw in the guide for the seat. Put it aside and make sure that you put every screw you take out nicely aside so you don't lose any. This would probably not be a good idea to lose any screws. Right, after that you do the front two. Same thing here, just take them out real quick and put them aside. After that we got the Phillips head screw and the Allen screw on the side panels. Make sure to take off both left and right panels. Click the fairing out of it and it should come straight out. Now here are the top three which are mounted to the tank, and the bottom one is where the fairing is mounted to. After this we can continue to take a rag and wrap it around the bottom side near the seat of the tank. This way we will not damage any of the paint on the tank, as we're not gonna remove the tank, but we are gonna put it upright so it's just out of our way. This means we don't have to drain the fuel and don't have to undo any hoses that are connected to the tank. Note that this is a lot easier if the tank's almost empty compared to a full tank like I did. Didn't really think that one through, but still, it still works. Right, so I put the slot on the back of the tank in between the top coil of the shock so it's stabilized. Then I'm gonna take out all the screws and the electric connector on top half of the airbox, if you can call it that. Yeah, probably. Take out the air filter, and then we're gonna undo the throttle body cones, if you please. These are two sections on this bike, each holding with 3 Phillips head screws, one over there and two on the two corners. You might want to note, just take off this first one. You might want to note that the one on the right here is higher than the one on the left. The highest one is pointed towards the outside of the bike. Remember that when you put them in, because the other side is the other way around. Then on the back of the housing there's 3 hoses, 2 very small ones and a bigger one. Undo these should come off fairly easy. No screwing or no pliers should be required actually to undo this. Then on the side on the left here there's an air pressure gauge, so get the connector off the side and there should be a tube on the bottom, a hose. Take that off and make sure it doesn't fall in, because it has a tendency to fall in, so I'll just secure it there at the moment. Right, so just looking around to see if anything's still trapped. As I forgot, there was also a small tube on the front, which I'll show you in a second. And once that one is off, you can just clip out those rubber hoses, well, the big pipes actually that connect to the front air ducts. So that's the hose I was forgetting about. Take that off too, and the entire airbox with the 2 hoses should come off and you can put it away. Right, so now we got this thing. This is the throttle body with the 4 pipes in it. Every pipe is connected to a rubber coupler which connects to the engine. Now every coupler has 2 clamps on it, which you can screw loose. Just unscrew the top part, the top clamp, because the couplers can actually stay on the engine. Let's speed it up a bit. Now this part of taking this out of those 4 couplers was really tough for me. It took me about half an hour to get to this point where it's off. It's just tension, but you might want to use some lubricant to get them out and wiggle them free, so that took a lot of time. Right, so in here on the right hand side of the frame, this is the other side of the bike, down in there, that little thing, that's the tensioner I want to change out. See how deep down that is? It's really tricky to get out. There's 2 Allen keys that hold in that tensioner, so you might want to take out the bottom one first, because that will come out easily, and then when you take out the second one, it will actually let the tensioner extend. Right, so once you got it out, make sure the gasket also comes out. So it should be green on one side and white on the other. This is the new tensioner. See how it's a lot shorter? That's because it is wound up. There's a little plate on the back. You want to leave that in before installing. You only want to pull that out once the tensioner is installed on the bike itself, on the engine. Right, so I also had a new gasket to put on there just to make sure. Right, green side towards the engine. Putting 1 screw through a hole and through the gasket so you don't spin the gasket. And after it's installed, I got both screws in tight. Now is the place and the moment to pull out this little thing on the back, which will extend the front end of the tensioner, which actually puts tension on the chain. Right, so also then you need to take off the 8mm bolt out of the back of the original tensioner and put it on the new one, which is installed in the bike. This can be a bit tricky. Don't forget the little washer that's on there. You might want to loosen this bolt when the old tensioner is still on the bike before unscrewing it, because it's kind of tight on there, so getting it out is kind of hard when the tensioner is not on the bike. This is just to show what the little screw in the back does. So screwing in with a small flathead screwdriver retracts the front end. So that's why that little plate is for. And then as a final, just put it all back together. Wait a minute, let's not use that air filter. It's original. It's slow. This might be a lot better. Right, so after this, you just put the bike back together the way it came apart. Make sure everything's nice and tight, but not too tight. You don't want to strip any screws. Be careful with the tank not to scratch it up or anything, and go for a test drive. Have fun, guys.